When we think of ancient Rome, we imagine disciplined citizens, grand philosophers, and the Stoic ideals that shaped an empire. Marcus Aurelius contemplating the meaning of life, senators debating with dignity, or legions marching with precision, all embody the image of a society ruled by reason and self-control. But here's the truth. Daily life in ancient Rome wasn't as stoic as you might think. Beneath the surface of grand marble buildings and timeless philosophy, the reality of Roman life was messy, chaotic, and at times, downright indulgent. The streets of Rome were filled with noise, drama, and the constant clash of ambition and survival. From wild gladiator games to rowdy public baths, from lavish feasts to political scandals, the Romans often lived in a way that would make even the most disciplined Stoic philosopher shake his head in disbelief. Today, we'll dive into what life in ancient Rome was really like, beyond the polished image of Stoic virtue. We'll explore the chaos, extravagance, and humanity of a civilization that, for all its wisdom, was as flawed and fascinating as any society in history. Let's start with the streets of Rome, the beating heart of the empire. Forget the serene marble promenades you've seen in movies. The streets of Rome were crowded, noisy, and chaotic. Merchants shouted to sell their goods, street performers drew crowds with their antics, and beggars pleaded for coins. The air was filled with the smells of fresh bread, grilled meat, and, unfortunately, waste from overflowing sewers. The Romans had a term for this hustle and bustle, urbs, meaning the city. For many Stoics, like Seneca, the urbs was a source of frustration. Seneca wrote about the constant noise outside his home, the shouting of vendors, the clanging of tools, and the roar of the crowds. It's hard to imagine anyone finding inner peace in such a chaotic environment. And then there were the public baths, a staple of Roman daily life. Far from being quiet retreats, these baths were lively social hubs. Men and women gathered in separate sections to gossip, conduct business, or simply unwind. The atmosphere was anything but stoic. Picture a mix of steaming hot water, loud conversations, and the occasional argument over whose turn it was to enter the sauna. For many Romans, the baths were less about self-reflection and more about indulgence and socializing. But if you think the baths were lively, wait until we talk about the gladiator games. These events, held in massive arenas like the Colosseum, were the opposite of Stoic restraint. Thousands of spectators cheered as gladiators fought to the death, wild animals were unleashed, and elaborate naval battles were staged. For the Stoics, who valued rationality and compassion, the bloodlust of the games would have been deeply troubling. Marcus Aurelius himself avoided attending the games whenever possible, preferring the company of books to the roar of the arena. Yet, for the average Roman, the games were a thrilling escape from daily life. They were a place to cheer for your favorite fighter, gamble on outcomes, and feel a sense of community, albeit one fueled by violence. The Stoics may have preached virtue, but the reality of Roman entertainment was anything but virtuous. Speaking of indulgence, let's talk about Roman feasts. While Stoicism emphasized moderation, the wealthy elite of Rome often threw extravagant banquets that would make today's celebrity parties look modest. These feasts featured multiple courses, exotic dishes like roasted peacock and dormice, and an abundance of wine. Guests reclined on couches as servants brought endless platters of food. For the Stoics, this kind of excess was a clear violation of their principles. Seneca often criticized the wealthy for their gluttony, writing about their obsession with luxury and their inability to find satisfaction in simpler pleasures. Yet these feasts were a central part of Roman social life, where politics, alliances, and friendships were forged over endless food and drink. Even the Roman home life wasn't as stoic as you might expect. The Roman family was a hierarchical structure, with the paterfamilias, the male head of the household, holding absolute authority. While Stoic principles encouraged mutual respect and rational decision-making, the reality was often more complex. Domestic life could be filled with tension, arguments, and power struggles, especially in wealthy households where slaves and servants added another layer of complexity. And then there was religion. While Stoicism focused on rationality and inner peace, the Romans were deeply superstitious. They believed in omens, consulted oracles, and performed elaborate rituals to appease the gods. From household shrines to grand public ceremonies, religion played a central role in Roman life. For the Stoics, who believed in living in harmony with nature and reason, the widespread superstitions of their society must have been puzzling. But perhaps the biggest contrast between Stoicism and Roman daily life was the pursuit of ambition and power. Rome was a society built on competition, from the political arena to the battlefield. Senators schemed for influence, generals vied for glory, and businessmen sought to expand their wealth. This relentless drive for success often clashed with the Stoic ideal of living modestly and focusing on virtue over material gain. Even Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, struggled with this tension. As a ruler, he had to navigate the cutthroat world of Roman politics while staying true to his principles. His reign was marked by constant wars, internal dissent, and personal loss. Despite his efforts to embody Stoic virtue, he couldn't escape the chaos of Roman life. So, what can we learn from this contrast between Stoic philosophy and Roman reality? It reminds us that no society, no matter how advanced or philosophical, is free from flaws and contradictions. The Romans were human, prone to excess, ambition, and conflict, just like us. At the same time, the enduring appeal of Stoicism shows that even in the midst of chaos, there is value in striving for discipline, rationality, and inner peace. While the daily life of ancient Rome was far from Stoic, the philosophy offered a framework for navigating its challenges with grace and resilience. In many ways, the story of Stoicism and ancient Rome mirrors our own modern world. We too live in a society filled with noise, distractions, and contradictions. We chase success, indulge in pleasures, and grapple with chaos. And yet, like the Stoics of old, we seek wisdom, clarity, and balance amidst it all. While the contrast between Stoic philosophy and the realities of daily Roman life is striking, it's also a reflection of the complex nature of human society. The Romans may have aspired to Stoic ideals of rationality and virtue, but their actions often betrayed a different story, one filled with contradictions, indulgence, and pragmatism. This duality wasn't necessarily a failure. Rather, it was a reminder of the difficulty of living up to philosophical principles in a world driven by ambition and survival. Let's dive deeper into some aspects of daily Roman life that reveal how far removed it was from the Stoic ideal. One of the most fascinating contradictions was the Roman obsession with status. Stoicism emphasized humility and warned against being enslaved by the opinions of others. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Yet in Roman society, public perception was everything. Romans flaunted their wealth and achievements through grand displays of power and luxury. From elaborate funerals to public monuments inscribed with their accomplishments, the Roman elite sought to immortalize themselves in the eyes of their peers. Even the practice of wearing certain togas or hairstyles signified one's social rank. This constant striving for recognition and validation was a far cry from the Stoic ideal of finding peace within. Take the practice of patronage, for example. Wealthy Romans acted as patrons to less fortunate clients, providing them with financial support or opportunities in exchange for loyalty and political backing. Each morning, clients would gather outside their patron's home, hoping to secure favors or protection. While this system reinforced social bonds, it also highlighted the transactional nature of Roman relationships. For Stoics, who valued genuine human connection and the rejection of superficial desires, this culture of dependency and ambition would have seemed deeply flawed. Even the Roman political system, which was often chaotic and cutthroat, stood in stark contrast to Stoic ideals. The Senate was a place of intense rivalries, where bribery, backstabbing, and betrayal were common. Leaders like Julius Caesar and Augustus rose to power through a combination of military might, cunning strategy, and political manipulation. The Stoic emphasis on virtue and rationality had little place in a political environment where survival often depended on deception and ruthlessness. This tension between Stoic principles and Roman reality was also evident in the empire's military culture. Stoicism taught that anger and aggression were destructive emotions to be avoided. Yet, the Roman military thrived on conquest, discipline, and loyalty to the empire. Soldiers were trained to suppress their emotions in battle, but their purpose was not to cultivate inner peace. It was to expand Rome's borders and maintain its dominance. Imagine a Roman soldier stationed on the empire's frontier. His daily life consisted of grueling training, harsh conditions, and the constant threat of war. While Stoic principles might have helped him endure these challenges with composure, the soldier's ultimate goal wasn't philosophical, it was survival and victory. The glory of Rome depended on the strength of its legions, but that strength was built on the very aggression and ambition that Stoicism warned against. Religion was another area where daily Roman life diverged from Stoic ideals. While Stoicism viewed the divine as a rational and orderly force, Roman religion was deeply superstitious and ritualistic. From household gods to state-sponsored ceremonies, the Romans believed in appeasing their deities through offerings, prayers, and sacrifices. Omens and prophecies played a significant role in decision-making, from political campaigns to military strategies. For Stoics, who sought to align themselves with the rational order of nature, this reliance on superstition would have seemed irrational and unnecessary. But perhaps the greatest divergence from Stoicism was in the Roman approach to pleasure and indulgence. While the Stoics advocated for moderation and self-control, many Romans embraced a lifestyle of excess. This wasn't limited to the wealthy elite. Even ordinary citizens found ways to celebrate life's pleasures, whether through festivals, public spectacles, or communal feasts. For the Romans, life was meant to be lived fully, even if it meant occasionally overstepping the bounds of moderation. Take, for example, the Roman festivals. Events like Saturnalia and Bacchanalia were marked by wild celebrations, feasting, and even temporary social role reversals. During Saturnalia, slaves and masters would trade places, and the usual rules of decorum were relaxed. These festivals provided an escape from the rigid structures of daily life, but they also highlighted the human desire for joy and release, something Stoicism's emphasis on restraint didn't always account for. Even in their architecture, the Romans revealed their love of spectacle and grandeur. The Colosseum, the Roman Forum, and the elaborate aqueducts were all symbols of Rome's ambition and ingenuity, but they also reflected a society that valued outward displays of power and wealth. While Stoicism encouraged individuals to focus on their inner virtues, Rome's grand monuments were designed to project dominance and immortality. So, was daily Roman life completely devoid of Stoic influence? Not entirely. Stoicism did play a role in shaping the moral framework of many Romans, particularly among the educated elite. Philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius left behind writings that continue to inspire people today. Stoic principles of self-discipline, resilience, and acceptance resonated with those who sought to navigate the chaos of Roman life with clarity and composure. For example, in the bustling chaos of the Roman Forum, merchants, politicians, and citizens might have found solace in the Stoic idea of focusing only on what is within their control. A merchant who lost a shipment to piracy could remind himself that while he couldn't control the pirates, he could control his response to the loss. A senator navigating political rivalries might turn to Stoic teachings to maintain his integrity in a corrupt system. Even ordinary Romans might have found value in Stoic principles during moments of personal hardship. A farmer facing a poor harvest or a soldier enduring the loss of comrades could draw strength from the Stoic belief that suffering is a natural part of life and an opportunity for growth. But for all its wisdom, Stoicism remained a philosophy that was often at odds with the realities of Roman life. It demanded a level of self-discipline and rationality that was difficult to maintain in a society driven by ambition, indulgence, and chaos. While Stoicism offered individuals a path to inner peace, it couldn't fundamentally change the messy, dynamic, and deeply human nature of Roman society. In many ways, this contrast between Stoicism and daily Roman life mirrors our own struggles today. We live in a world filled with distractions, ambitions, and contradictions. We aspire to live virtuously, to stay calm in the face of adversity, but we often fall short, and that's okay. Just as the Romans navigated their complex world with a mix of philosophy and pragmatism, so too can we. As we reflect on the gap between Stoic ideals and the realities of daily life in ancient Rome, one thing becomes clear: perfection was never the goal. Stoicism wasn't about creating a flawless society. It was about giving individuals the tools to navigate life's challenges with resilience and grace. While the Romans often fell short of these ideals, their struggles remind us that striving for virtue is a journey, not a destination. The bustling streets, extravagant feasts, rowdy games, and chaotic politics of Rome show us that life, even in its messiest moments, is deeply human. And that's what makes Stoicism so relevant, not because it demands perfection, but because it offers a path forward in an imperfect world. The Romans weren't stoic all the time, and neither are we. But when the noise of life becomes overwhelming, Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we can control, to find calm amidst the chaos, and to act with purpose. So what lessons can we take from ancient Rome today? First, we can embrace the messiness of life while striving to live with intention. Second, we can use Stoicism as a guide, not a strict rule book, recognizing that it's okay to falter as long as we keep trying. And finally, we can find balance between the joy of indulgence and the discipline of restraint, between the chaos of the world and the peace within. If you've enjoyed this look into the daily life of ancient Rome and the role Stoicism played in it, consider sharing it with someone who might find it meaningful. Let's spread the wisdom of the past to help us navigate the challenges of the present. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights into history, philosophy, and how we can apply ancient lessons to modern life. Together, we can learn from the chaos and find a path to balance and clarity.